All right. Well, good evening. My name is Sarah Titcomb, and I'm a principal planner with Snohomish County PDS. Next slide, please. So Debbie just set the stage for the overall 2024 update, and I will focus in this evening on the introduction to the plan. Next slide, please. The purpose of today's briefing is to describe the introduction and why the county has chosen to recommend repealing the 2015 version of the introduction instead of amending it. I will also present the vision statement that is a large part of the introduction and that was crafted through public input. A detailed staff report, including the proposed language of the introduction in attachment A, was provided in advance of this briefing, and there will also be opportunities for the commissioners to ask questions and provide feedback at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. So the introduction gives the reader the statutory framework and background necessary to understand the plan, as well as the time during which the plan was, or the update was being developed. As the figure on the slide hopes to present, the Snohomish County Comprehensive Plan is a result of state water requirements and planning within the Growth Management Act, or GMA, brought down to the regional level through the Puget Sound Regional Council, or PSRC, Vision 2050, which includes multi-county planning policies, or MPPs, for King, Snohomish, Pierce, and Kitsap counties. These MPPs are brought to the countywide level within the countywide planning policies, or CPPs, that are generated through the multi-jurisdictional group, Snohomish County Tomorrow, and adopted by the County Council. Finally, these CPPs are made specific to unincorporated Snohomish County within the county's comprehensive plan, or the plan for short. Then breaking down the plan to its general parts, there's an overarching vision statement in the introduction that aims to unify the different elements with their goals, objectives, and policies and other programs towards a common vision of the county in 2044. It's important for the reader to understand when the update to the plan was being developed, because that provides context for decisions and policies in the plan. This is why the introduction briefly examines forecasted population growth, the COVID-19 pandemic, and demographic, economic, and housing shifts occurring across the county. This can also help the reader to understand what the county anticipates happening over the next 20 years. While there is still a lot of uncertainty about the next 20 years in the county, and a lot could change at a state, regional, or even local level, the comprehensive plan aims to help direct the county through this uncertainty with goals, objectives, policies, and a vision statement, all aiming for a resilient, vibrant, and inclusive future. Next slide, please. As I'll show in an upcoming slide, there is some overlap in the information provided in the 2015 and 2024 introductions. For instance, both list the elements of the plan, sources and reasons for the update, and demographic trends. Although the 2024 introduction is a repeal and replace instead of a series of amendments, because the way the material is presented in the current state of affairs is all new. In addition, the organization of the current introduction, the proposed one, is very different from the 2015 version. And there's also a new vision statement that will be shown in its near entirety in the next slide, I promise. There's also a new discussion of how planning goals can be balanced that was not present in 2015 version. This section of the introduction lists the 14 GMA goals, which is concentrating urban growth, impacting the environment, the county must consider in the plan. The 14 GMA goals are not listed in any sort of priority order, and it is a responsibility of the county to balance these goals along with public staff and elected official input. What's important to remember in balancing goals is that planning is not a zero-sum game. For instance, if affordable housing is incentivized in certain locations to fulfill GMA goals around housing, urban growth, and reducing sprawl, this is not necessarily at the expense of GMA goals surrounding the environment or open space. Housing and the environment are not always at odds because, for example, open space can be designated into developments that provide recreational opportunities as well as habitat for wildlife. The introduction also delves into the overarching themes of the plan. Social equity, for instance, is an overarching theme explicitly present in the plan and introduced in the introduction because of the policy changes at the state, regional, countywide level, in addition to public interest. Social equity is not a new concept. It does have a more substantial and overt role in the plan to help move the county towards its vision, represent the people of Snohomish County, and plan for an inclusive and accessible future. The majority of demographic information from the 2015 introduction is proposed to be removed as it is very specific to 2015. Although this information will not be lost completely from the plan. Updates to demographic figures and tables will be presented as relevant in the population and employment element. And the introduction includes two figures displayed on this page to help explain the current planning climate in the county. The county is growing in population and it is becoming more racially diverse. This underlines the need for the county to be an inclusive place for all those who live, work, and play here. Finally, while there's a lot of new information, as we just discussed, a lot of the text from the 2015 version is proposed to be removed. And as a result, the introduction is actually shorter than the 2015 version. This could inspire more users of the plan to read through the introduction and will hopefully serve to better highlight the vision statement. Next slide, please. So I mentioned the vision statement a lot in this briefing so far, and this slide displays the entire vision statement, as well as some key ideas from each of the 7 guiding principles that provide more information about where the plan envisions the county in 2044. The full text of the guiding principles is provided in attachment A of the staff report. This is an aspirational statement of where the county wants to be in 2044, and it will be used to unite the many elements of the plan and guide the county over the next 20 years. Each element discusses the vision and how the goals, objectives, policies, and other programs within that element will help bring the county closer to realizing the vision. It's also a tool for the government leaders now to lean on when making decisions, because if they understand where the county wants to be in 2044, they can review each major decision through that lens to determine if it will help or hinder the county's efforts to move closer to that future. We are all in this together. In 2044, Snohomish County is a resilient, vibrant, and inclusive place to live with a high quality of life where all residents can thrive. This is a vision statement because it looks out into the future and represents an idealized future state that may never come to pass, but is still worthy of reaching towards all the same. Vision statement reflects the values and aspirations of the community members, and we'll discuss public engagement around its creation later in the presentation. It's also grounded in understanding of current conditions and is informed by the regional vision of 2015 for other Vision 2050 and CPPs. The county synthesized input from the public, elected officials, and other local and regional bodies into one aspirational vision statement and 7 guiding principles. This style of a concise vision statement, followed by a number of guiding principles to help flesh out the major concepts, is also adapted from Vision 2050. Next slide, please. So this slide works to summarize some of what we have just discussed by visually displaying the topics that were included in the 2015 introduction versus those that are proposed in the 2024 introduction. So while it seems like more information is provided in the 2024 version, the 2015 version is 30 pages long, whereas the 2024 proposed introduction is 12 pages. And in the 2015 version, 23 of the 30 pages focus on demographics and that are very contextual in 2015. The majority of this information, such as population pyramids and other figures looking at age and gender over time, or home ownership rates by age, or housing unit types by age, et cetera, will not be in the 2024 version, as this information goes beyond introducing the comprehensive plan to the reader. Where appropriate, though, the figures information will be provided in other elements. The 2015 introduction also has a major concept section that discusses the GMA requirements for the inclusion of resource, rural, and urban lands in the plan. This discussion will be moved primarily to the land use element as it is most relevant there. With the removal of sections from 2015 introduction and a major rewrite of the section proposed to remain in the proposed 2024 introduction, the proposed introduction is significantly shorter and aims to be more reader-friendly and focused on information that is important to understand the plan. Next slide, please. So public participation during the visioning process focused on engagement with a diversity of community members, and especially those from historically and currently marginalized communities. The county did this by reaching out to the community at large to understand where they wanted to be in 2024, and by making concerted efforts to reduce barriers to engagement with communities and individuals that the county hasn't typically heard from in the past. The county did this, for instance, by translating materials into Spanish and Korean, and visiting locations around the county in person to support historically and currently marginalized communities to explain what the county is trying to do and how to get involved. So overall, the county held a visioning comment period from November 1st, 2021 to February 25th, 2022. And to advertise this visioning comment period, staff again traveled across the county to speak with businesses and community members. And the comment period also was advertised through a press release on the website, the update website, distribution list emails, and through newsletter articles. So then staff compiled the input from over 100 comments, as well as comments received during a prior Parks Division visioning process. and they generated a vision statement with those public comments, as well as Vision 2050, CPPs, and staff expertise. The draft was then presented back to the public for comment in spring of 2022 to help gauge if we heard them correctly and also how to make improvements. A portion of the vision statement comment form posted on the 2024 update project website is the image you see on the screen, and it included the following prompts. Please tell us your vision for Snohomish County in 2044. In 2044, what is your vision for the county regarding housing, economic development, capital facilities, parks, transportation and mobility, land use, and the natural environment? And finally, what is important to you as the county grows? The aim was to have open-ended questions and a question that helped frame the conversation on topics that could be addressed in the comprehensive plan. On the comment form and emails and through in-person discussions, Snohomish County received comments related to increasing residential densities, preserving agricultural lands, and ensuring there was sufficient infrastructure to support development. There were also discussions of wildlife corridors, the economy, and specific road projects. Next slide, please. Some of the themes for the public comment period that were incorporated into the vision statement are highlighted on this slide, and that all public comments received can be found in the index of record. Some of the comments, the written comments, some of the written statements the county received included things like, quote, as a resident of unincorporated Snohomish County, my vision is based on preserving our farmlands, our rural areas, wildlife habitat, and the aquifers that serve them. Another said, I want a county that expands outdoor recreational opportunities as the county continues to grow in terms of development and population to keep people active and healthy. And finally, by 2044, Snohomish County should have an adequate supply of housing for all income levels, but development must leave room for natural areas, especially forests and farms. There must be careful planning around transportation, as well as heating and cooling systems for buildings that won't exacerbate the greenhouse gas emissions. Many more parks and recreational facilities are needed close to the neighborhoods people live. These items constitute a quality of life we should strive to attain. Next slide, please. So the next steps after tonight's briefing will be to review any comments received, and all questions that I cannot answer tonight will be responded to via email. And finally, next month's briefing will be in the land use element. So thank you. Now's the time for questions.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Campbell.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. I feel a little confused. On one hand, David was saying we're going to be looking at amendments, and you were saying we're repealing and replacing. Is that across the whole thing, or is it just for the vision statement? That's what the repeal and replace is for, is the primary vision piece?
So the repeal and replace is for the entirety of the introduction, although every other element is going through either an amendment process, or I believe one may be proposing a repeal and replace. And this is based on just the amount of things that are changing. So the text in the introduction proposed for this round is all completely new because the context is new. So we have many of the ideas or concepts from the last version are included here, but the way it's organized, the way we say it, and the way the information we present is all new.
So the other elements will be, they'll have amendments to not just repeal and replace. Okay.
Oh, definitely. Like there are policies that, will add a word here, or there are new policies. This is just a little bit different because there aren't policies involved already. It's more kind of setting the stage for the plan that comes afterwards.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from commissioners?
I do.
Commissioner Sheldon.
Yes. You were saying you were getting input for anything else. Did you get any input, Sarah, for anything for about tribal use and how they're going to be involved in 2024, 2044?
That's a good question. I don't recall all of the comments received offhand. I'm sure that there were mention of tribal communities. I don't recall, though, if there were specific comments received from the tribes. I can look into that for you, though.
Yeah, I think it's kind of important.
Thank you.
And if I could just chime in here, Commissioner Sheldon, one of the elements that you will see later this summer will be the tribal coordination element that we have been working with the area tribes on. So that is specific to tribal coordination. So I just want to mention we are proposing a new element around tribal coordination that you'll see this summer.
And I saw that on the calendar. I was a little worried how far it was, and we had such a problem the last time we did this, and I didn't want to spend the next 4 or 5 months or let me see, it's July, August. I may be out of the position because I may not get elected back in. I'd rather see it a little sooner than later.
Appreciate those comments. Part of the approach that we've taken in scheduling these briefings is reflective of the amount of time and the amount of amendments that each element contains. And some elements have gone a little bit faster. Some, like our infrastructure elements, require more time. There's project lists and things like that. With the tribal coordination element, we've been we have extended the opportunity to partner with our area tribes. So we wanted to kind of maximize the time that may be necessary for kind of an iterative process, and we wanted to give the most flexibility, knowing that this was a very important element, and bringing it sooner might shortchange opportunities for input by the tribes. We also wanted to have these policies go out for a public comment period, which will be occurring I think next month. We will have or in May, I think it's in May, we take the tribal policies out for public comment. So it's just the nature of the schedule. I certainly understand that this is not I want to just be upfront with you and say, no, our intent was not to do this in your absence. But it was just the nature of how we kind of scheduled these out, not only to make sure that your agendas weren't overbooked, but just to allow ample time for us to work with the tribes. I will just be upfront. We've not had contact with the Saxuwatl tribe on that tribal coordination element. We remain hopeful that they will want to participate. So we are kind of leaving the door open, and moving it out that far gives us the ability, if they do want to join in on that element, that we have time to kind of work their concerns in.
Thank you.
David, just to clarify here, my guess is that, and this is a question, do the tribal representatives receive planning commission agendas?
I believe, I know for Tulalip, I believe that we had instituted that, very soon after we had that joint meeting prior, a couple years ago. So I think we are sending the agendas over. I don't know if we're sending them directly to members of the tribal planning commission, but I believe that they are being sent to might be to Julia Gold, who's their planning manager at the Tulalip tribes.
Well, I guess one way to look at it is anyone who requests that kind of information, it's 100% there for them. So, Yep, that's good. Thank you, Commissioner Sheldon. Any other questions for Sarah while we have her here? Okay, thank you very much, Sarah, for introduction and vision briefing. It's a big package, but I appreciate it.